The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets overhead, but no one noticed except me. I slammed my locker shut with a force that echoed down the empty hallway of Ridge Valley High, my heart pounding harder than the bass from the football team's post-game party I just walked away from. "You're done terrorizing freshmen, Kane," I spat, my voice cracking just enough to betray the fear twisting in my gut, but not enough to stop me from staring down the school's golden boy, Hunter Kane, whose smirk could cut glass. He froze mid-laugh, his entourage of jocks scattering like leaves in a sudden gust, leaving us alone under the trophy case that gleamed with his family's name etched in gold. Hunter's eyes, that piercing blue that made half the school swoon, narrowed into slits, and for the first time, I saw something crack behind the facade of untouchable wealth, the raw edge of a predator cornered by prey that dared to bite back. "You think you can just walk away from this, Ellis?" he growled, stepping closer, his cologne sharp and expensive, invading my space like he owned it, which in Ridge Valley he pretty much did. That was the moment everything shattered. Or maybe it was the beginning of the glue that would try to piece us back together in ways neither of us could have predicted. Ridge Valley, the sleepy coastal town tucked into the cliffs of Northern California, where the Pacific crashed against jagged rocks like it was angry at the world, had always felt like a cage disguised as paradise. Fog rolled in every morning from the sea, blanketing the eucalyptus groves that lined the winding roads to our school, a sprawling campus of red brick buildings that screamed old money and older secrets. My family wasn't part of that world. Dad ran the local bookstore in town, Mom taught third grade at the elementary down the hill, and I was just Noah Ellis, the quiet kid with a sketchbook full of half-drawn dreams and a backpack heavier than my secrets. I'd known Hunter Kane since freshman orientation, when he arrived in a black Escalade that cost more than our house, his dad the real estate mogul who owned half the cliffs overlooking the bay. Hunter was everything I wasn't. Tall, broad-shouldered, with sun-bleached blonde hair that fell just right and a jawline that could have been chiseled from the same marble as the statues in the town square. He ruled the halls with a lazy confidence, the kind that came from never hearing no, from parties at his cliffside mansion where champagne flowed like the tide and whispers of his conquests, girls mostly but rumors swirled about more, kept the gossip mills churning. Me? I kept my head down, buried in poetry slams after school or volunteering at the community center, helping the kids from the trailer parks on the outskirts learn to read without shame. Gay in Ridge Valley wasn't a death sentence, but it wasn't a parade either. It was just another layer of fog you navigated alone. The incident that lit the fuse happened 2 weeks before that hallway showdown. It was a Thursday, the kind where the sun fights through the mist just long enough to warm the quad, and I was cutting through the back lot to avoid the lunch rush. That's when I saw it. Little Jamie Ruiz, a scrawny 9th grader with braces and dreams of being the next soccer star, cornered by Hunter and his crew against the chain-link fence. Jamie's backpack was spilled open, books splayed in the dirt like fallen soldiers, and Hunter's boot was grinding one of them into the gravel. "Come on, Ruiz," Hunter drawled, his voice all honeyed venom. "You gonna cry about your mommy's old library books? Or you gonna man up and admit you're just a scholarship kid playing pretend?" The others laughed, that hollow bark that echoed privilege, but Jamie's face crumpled, his dark eyes wide with the kind of terror that sticks. Something in me snapped then, not bravery exactly, but a bone-deep weariness of watching the world chew up the small and spit them out. I dropped my tray, the plastic clattering loud enough to turn heads, and strode over. "Leave him alone, Kane," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, planting myself between them like a sapling against a storm. Hunter turned slow, like a lion sizing up an intruder, his blue eyes locking onto mine with that dissecting stare. The laughter died, replaced by a heavy silence that pressed on my chest. "Ellis," he said, drawing out my name like it tasted sour, "this doesn't concern you. Run along to your little art club, or whatever it is you do to feel special." I could have backed down, should have maybe, but Jamie's sniffle behind me, the way his small hand clutched my sleeve, it fueled something fierce. "It concerns all of us when you treat people like trash because your daddy's wallet is bigger than your heart." I shot back, the words tumbling out before I could cage them. The quad went dead quiet, a ripple of whispers spreading like wildfire. Hunter's face darkened, a flush creeping up his neck, and for a split second I thought he might swing. Instead, he leaned in close, his breath hot against my ear. "Watch your back, pretty boy." Fog rolls in quick around here. He walked away then, his crew trailing like shadows, but the damage was done. By afternoon my locker was vandalized with slurs scrawled in Sharpie. Fag, loser, outsider. And whispers followed me like ghosts. Dad noticed that night over dinner. His fork pausing mid-air as he eyed the fresh bruise on my knuckles from clenching them too tight. "Noah, what's eating you?" he asked, his voice gentle. The same one that recommended Vonnegut to lost souls in his shop. I shrugged, pushing peas around my plate. "Just school stuff. You know how it is." Mom exchanged that look with him, the one that said they worried about the parts of me I kept locked away, like the sketch I'd hidden in my drawer. A rough outline of a boy with eyes like the sea, angry and endless. They didn't know I was gay, not yet anyway. In Ridge Valley, coming out felt like jumping off the cliffs without a parachute. The water below too cold, too unforgiving. The next few days blurred into a tense standoff. Hunter ignored me in the halls, but his presence loomed, a magnetic pull I couldn't shake. I'd catch him watching during English, when Mr. Harlan droned on about the Great Gatsby and the hollow rot of the American dream, ironic, given how Hunter embodied it. His family fortune came from developing those very cliffs, turning wild land into gated enclaves for tech bros fleeing Silicon Valley. But there were cracks. The way his shoulders slumped when he thought no one saw, or the empty beer cans I'd spotted once behind the bleachers, his solitary figure silhouetted against the sunset. Friday brought the party invite, passed via a smirking note in my locker. Kane's Cliff House. 9 p.m. Don't be a ghost, Ellis. I crumpled it, but curiosity gnawed. Why me? Was it a trap or something else? By evening the fog had lifted, stars pricking the velvet sky as I biked up the winding road to Kane Manor. The mansion's lights twinkling like a lure. Music thumped from inside, bass vibrating through the gravel, and bodies spilled onto the terrace overlooking the drop to the ocean. I hovered on the edges, nursing a soda, the salt air mixing with chlorine from the infinity pool. That's when Hunter found me, weaving through the crowd with effortless grace, a red Solo cup in hand. "You came," he said, surprise flickering in his eyes, close enough that I could see the faint scar above his lip, a remnant of some childhood fall. "Didn't have anything better to do," I lied, my pulse racing. Up close, he smelled like pine and salt, his linen shirt unbuttoned just enough to reveal the tan line from surfing. He chuckled, low and genuine, handing me his cup. "Try this. It's better than that dishwater you're holding." Our fingers brushed, a spark that jolted me, and I took a sip, whiskey smooth and burning. We talked then, or rather he did, words spilling like he'd been holding them back. About the pressure of being the Kane heir, the expectations that chained him tighter than any trust fund. "Everyone thinks it's easy," he murmured, staring out at the waves crashing far below. "But it's like drowning in air, you know? Can't breathe, can't escape." I nodded, unexpectedly drawn in, sharing bits of my own world, the bookstore's creaky floors, the way poetry made the fog feel less suffocating. For an hour the party faded, just us on the terrace, the world narrowing to his laugh and the way his eyes softened when he looked at me. It felt dangerous, electric, like the edge of the cliff under our feet. But Ridge Valley doesn't let moments like that last. Monday morning the whispers had twisted. I'd heard Hunter started the rumors about me, painting me as the aggressive freak who'd picked the fight. My phone buzzed with screenshots. Anonymous posts on the school's group chat, slurs amplified, my face photoshopped into mocking memes. Betrayal hit like a rogue wave, cold and disorienting. In bio class I confronted him after the bell, cornering him by the lab sinks. Was it all a game? Lure me in, then gut me. His face paled, genuine hurt flashing before the mask slammed down. "Noah, it's not." But I was already gone, slamming the door on whatever lie he might spin. That night, rain lashed the windows of the old Victorian we called home, thunder rumbling like unspoken regrets. I curled on my bed, sketchbook open to that drawing of sea blue eyes, now smudged with angry eraser marks. Dad knocked softly, entering with hot cocoa. "Son, school's rough, but you're tougher. Remember that time you stood up for the kid at the center? The one who couldn't read? You changed his world." I managed a smile, but inside the ache bloomed. Standing up to Hunter hadn't freed me. It had chained us together in ways I couldn't untangle. Little did I know the real storm was brewing in the shadows of the school library, where dusty tomes held secrets deeper than the ocean, and Hunter Kane was about to drag me under. The rain hadn't let up by Tuesday, turning the campus paths into slick rivers that mirrored the turmoil churning in my chest. I skipped lunch, holing up in the library's back stacks, the air thick with the scent of aged paper and forgotten raincoats dripping from the coat rack. Ridge Valley High's library was a relic, high-ceilinged with arched windows that let in slivers of gray light, shelves groaning under volumes no one touched anymore. It was my sanctuary where I'd lose hours tracing the spines of Kerouac and Baldwin, their words a balm against the world's sharp edges. I was midway through a dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room, the protagonist's hidden desires hitting too close to home, when the door creaked open. Footsteps echoed, deliberate and unhurried, cutting through the patter of rain on glass. I didn't look up at first, assuming it was Mrs. Whitaker, the librarian with her perpetual frown and cart of returns. But the steps stopped too close, the air shifting with that familiar pine and salt cologne. "Noah." Hunter's voice was low, roughened by something I couldn't place, regret, maybe, or just the whiskey from whatever bottle he'd cracked open to face this. I snapped the book shut, heat flooding my face as I stood, backing against the shelf until the wood dug into my spine. "What do you want, Kane? Come to finish the job? Post more pics for your fan club." He was drenched, hair plastered to his forehead, white t-shirt clinging to the defined lines of his chest and abs, outlining every ridge like a map I shouldn't want to explore. Water pooled at his sneakers, but he didn't seem to care. His blue eyes locked on mine with an intensity that pinned me in place. The library felt smaller suddenly, the stacks closing in like witnesses to whatever this was. "I didn't start those rumors," he said, voice steady but edged with frustration. "Swear on my life. It was Brody, my idiot cousin, trying to look tough. I shut it down this morning, deleted the whole thread." I wanted to believe him, God I did, the way his hands flexed at his sides, knuckles white like he was fighting not to reach out. But trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. Not when every glance his way in the halls twisted the knife. Why should I care? "You let it happen." Laughed along probably. He stepped closer, close enough that I could see the flecks of gray in his eyes, like storm clouds over the sea. The space between us crackled, charged with the unsaid. The party on the cliff, that hour of unguarded talk, the brush of fingers that lingered in my dreams. "Because it's eating me alive," he admitted, voice dropping to a whisper that vibrated through me. "You called me out, Noah. No one's ever done that. Made me see. Shit, made me feel something real for once." My breath hitched, the book slipping from my fingers to thud on the carpet. The library was empty after hours technically, the rain a curtain sealing us in. Part of me screamed to run, to preserve the fragile walls I'd built around my heart. But another part, the one that sketched forbidden faces and ached for connection, held me there. "Feel what exactly?" I challenged, tilting my chin up, defiance masking the tremor in my limbs. Hunter's gaze dropped to my lips, then back up. A war raging in those depths. "This," he murmured, and before I could process, his hand cupped the back of my neck, pulling me into a kiss that shattered everything. It wasn't gentle, nothing about Hunter was, not really. His mouth crashed against mine, urgent and demanding, tasting of rain and desperation, his body pressing me back against the shelves until books tilted precariously. I gasped into it, hands fisting his wet shirt, the world narrowing to the heat of him, the scrape of his stubble, the way he groaned low in his throat like I'd unlocked a door he'd bolted shut. For those endless seconds, the rumors, the slurs, the fog of Ridge Valley, they all dissolved, leaving just us, raw and unraveling. He pulled back first, forehead resting against mine, breaths mingling in the dim light. "Fuck, Noah. I didn't plan that." His voice was wrecked, thumb tracing my jaw with a tenderness that belied the storm in his eyes. I touched my lips, swollen and tingling, reality crashing back like thunder. "What are we doing?" I whispered, fear coiling tight. This wasn't just a kiss, it was a confession. A crack in the armor of who we were supposed to be. Hunter Kane, straight-A golden boy with a trail of admirers. Noah Ellis, the quiet artist hiding his truth behind canvases and closed doors. He didn't answer right away, just held me there. his heart hammering against my chest in sync with mine. I don't know, but I can't stop thinking about you. The way you stood up, the fire in your eyes. It's like you've been under my skin since that quad. We sank to the floor then, backs against the stacks, knees touching in the puddle of his making. He talked, really talked, about the mansion that echoed with his parents' absences, Dad buried in boardrooms, Mom lost in her yoga retreats, and affairs whispered about at country club brunches. They don't see me, he said, picking at a loose thread on his jeans. Just the legacy. The Kane name. Sometimes I wonder if I'd be anyone without it. I shared too, haltingly at first, about the fear of telling my parents, the isolation of wanting what the world called wrong. It's like living in the fog, I said, echoing his earlier words. You can see shapes but never clear enough to touch. His hand found mine, fingers lacing with a hesitance that made my chest ache. Then let's find our way out together. The promise hung there, fragile as sea glass, and when he kissed me again, slower this time, exploring, it felt like possibility. But Ridge Valley had other plans. Wednesday brought the backlash. Brody, Hunter's cousin, cornered me in the parking lot after school, his face twisted in ugly jealousy. Think you're special? Stealing my spot. He shoved me against my bike, the chain rattling, his breath sour with cheap energy drinks. Hunter's mine to follow. You? You're just the freak he'll toss when he's bored. I shoved back, adrenaline surging, but he was bigger, his fist connecting with my ribs before Hunter's roar cut through. Back off, Brody. Hunter barreled in, yanking him away, the two of them squaring off like wolves over territory. Punches flew, Brody's wild, Hunter's precise. And by the end, blood trickled from Hunter's split lip, Brody slinking off with a snarled threat. You didn't have to. I started, but Hunter silenced me with a look, fierce and protective. Yeah, I did. He wiped his mouth, smearing red on his sleeve, then pulled me into a hug that smelled of sweat and resolve. No one's touching you. Not while I'm around. That night, I biked home under clearing skies, the stars emerging like hesitant allies. Dad was closing the bookstore when I arrived, the bell tinkling as I slipped inside. Rough day? He asked, shelving a stack of paperbacks, his eyes sharp behind his glasses. Something like that. I hesitated, then grabbed a book at random, Leaves of Grass, Whitman's words about the body electric jumping out. Dad, what if I told you something big? About me? He paused, setting the book down. I'd listen, Noah. Always. His smile was soft, encouraging, and for the first time the fog thinned just a bit. Across town, in the glowing windows of Kane Manor, Hunter stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, the bruise blooming purple under his eye. He texted me then. Can't sleep. Thinking of you. Tomorrow? Library after hours? My reply was simple. Yeah. Me too. Little did we know the shadows were lengthening. Brody's grudge festering. Hunter's family secrets bubbling up like undercurrents. The library, our fragile haven, was about to become the eye of the storm. Thursday dawned crisp, the coastal chill nipping at my heels as I pedaled to school, the taste of last night's kiss still lingering like salt on my tongue. Hunter and I had texted late into the night, words tumbling out in fragments. Favorite surf spots, hidden coves where the waves whispered secrets, the way sunlight fractured on water. It felt tentative, this bridge we were building, but solid enough to walk across hand in hand. In the halls, things shifted subtly. Whispers still trailed me, but fewer eyes lingered with malice. Hunter's influence, I supposed, the way he'd face down Brody rippling outward. During lunch, he slid into the seat across from me in the quad, ignoring the stares from his usual table. Saved you a spot, he said, pushing a tray of fries my way, his smile crooked around the swelling on his lip. I laughed, soft and disbelieving, as we shared them, knees brushing under the picnic table. People are staring. Let them. His foot hooked mine, a secret anchor. We talked about escape, road trip to Big Sur, sleeping under stars, leaving Ridge Valley's judgments in the rearview. Just you and me, he said, eyes bright with the dream. No Kanes, no Ellis. Just us. My heart swelled but doubt flickered. What about your family? The expectations? He shrugged, but tension lined his shoulders. One step at a time. After school we met in the library as planned, the door clicking shut behind us like a vow. Mrs. Whitaker had left early, citing a migraine, leaving the space ours. We claimed the alcove by the history section, a nest of armchairs and ottomans piled with atlases no one read. Hunter pulled me onto his lap, hands roaming with a hunger tempered by care, mapping the curve of my back, the dip of my waist. "You drive me crazy," he murmured against my neck, lips trailing fire. I arched into him, fingers threading his hair, the kiss deepening until the world blurred. It was more than physical. This unraveling layer by layer, souls brushing against the raw edges of truth. We broke apart breathless, foreheads touching. "Tell me something real," I whispered. He hesitated then. "I think I'm falling for you, Noah. Hard. And it scares the hell out of me." The admission hung vulnerable and vast, and I kissed him again, pouring my own fears into it. The coming out, the what-ifs. Friday blurred into weekend plans. A hike along the bluffs, picnic at Devil's Slide, where the trail hugged the cliff's edge. We met at dawn, Hunter in board shorts and a faded surf tee, me in jeans and a hoodie against the wind. The path wound through wild mustard blooms, the ocean a turquoise expanse below, gulls wheeling like scouts. We talked everything and nothing. His failed attempt at poetry in middle school, my sketches of the bay at twilight. At the overlook we spread a blanket, sharing sandwiches and stories, his head in my lap as I traced constellations on his arm. "See that? Orion's belt," I said, connecting freckles with my finger. He grinned up at me. "Nah, that's our belt. Holding us together." Laughter bubbled easy and light, but as the sun climbed, shadows crept in. His phone buzzed incessantly. Texts from home, curt and demanding. "Dad wants me at some dinner. Investors from the city." The warmth faded. "Go then. Duty calls." He sat up, cupping my face. "It's not duty. It's chains. But I'll fight it for this." His kiss sealed it, fierce before he left, the truck kicking up dust on the dirt road. That night, alone in my room, I finally cracked open to my parents. Over takeout Chinese in the living room, steam rising from cartons, I set down my fork. "Mom, Dad, I'm gay." The words tumbled, heavy yet freeing, and silence stretched, taut as a bowstring. Mom reached first, her hand over mine. "Oh honey, we love you. Always have." Dad nodded, eyes misty. "Proud of you, Noah. For being brave." Tears came then, relief washing over me like tide pools filling. I showed them the sketch, not of Hunter, but of a boy by the sea, symbolic. They hugged me, the fog lifting further, Ridge Valley feeling a fraction less like a cage. But Hunter's world was fracturing. Saturday he called late, voice slurred. "Party at the house. Dad's away. Cool me." I went, the mansion aglow, music pulsing. He found me in the crowd, pulling me to his room upstairs, away from prying eyes. We tumbled onto his bed, posters of surf legends watching over us, his hands urgent. "Need you," he breathed, and we explored, tentative then bold, clothes shedding like old skins. His touch was reverent, learning my body like a sacred text, gasps and whispers filling the moonlit space. Afterward, tangled in sheets, he confessed more. The pressure to date the mayor's daughter for optics, the fear of disappointing the Kane legacy. "I won't let it take this from us," he vowed, tracing my collarbone. Monday brought the first real crack. In the cafeteria, Brody wasn't alone, flanked by two of Hunter's other friends, faces I'd seen at the party. "Heard Kane's got a new toy," Brody sneered, loud enough for tables to turn. "Bet the Golden Boy's slumming it with the bookstore fag." Heat flooded my face, but before I could retort, Hunter was there, slamming his tray down. "Say it again, Brody. I dare you." The air thickened, chairs scraping as people backed away. Brody laughed, but it was forced, eyes darting. "Just joking, cuz. Lighten up." Hunter's fist clenched, veins standing out. "It's not a joke. And you're done." He turned to me, voice low. "Ignore him. We're good." But the seed was planted. Whispers evolved. Hunter using me for a thrill. A rebellion against his straight-laced life. I brushed it off, but doubt wormed in, especially when Hunter canceled our library meet, Family stuff, he texted terse. Tuesday I waited anyway, the stacks echoing empty. No show. Wednesday same. By Thursday anger simmered to hurt. I confronted him in the parking lot. Rain starting to spit. What's going on, Hunter? Afraid. His face crumpled. It's my dad. He found out about us. Threatened to cut me off if I don't straighten up. The words landed like blows. Meeting with a girl tonight. To appease him. Betrayal twisted sharp. So that's it? I'm the dirty secret. No. He grabbed my arm desperate. It's temporary. I swear. I yanked free, rain soaking us. Fix it then. Or we're done. I biked away, tears mixing with drops, the bluff trail calling like a siren's wail. That night, alone on the overlook, waves crashing below. I wondered if love in Ridge Valley was just another illusion. Beautiful until the tide pulled it under. Hunter's text came at midnight. I'm fighting. For you. Wait for me. But waiting felt like drowning, and the storm was only gathering force. The bluff's edge called to me again that Friday, the wind whipping my hoodie like accusatory fingers, the ocean below a churning cauldron of whitecaps and regret. Hunter's texts had piled up. Apologies laced with pleas, promises of confrontation. But I left my phone in my pocket, silenced, letting the roar of the sea drown out the ache. Ridge Valley's cliffs had always been my confessor, the place where I'd come to sketch the horizon's bruise-purple sunsets, where the salt spray stung just enough to remind me I was alive, feeling unbroken. But tonight the horizon bled red, the sun dipping low and furious, mirroring the bruise on my soul. I'd spent the day dodging eyes in the halls, the rumors metastasizing. Hunter seen with Lila Hargrove, the mayor's daughter, arm in arm at the country club, her laughter tinkling like champagne flutes. Photos circulated, anonymous drops in the group chat, him leaning in, her hand on his knee. Each one a dagger twisting deeper. Was it all a lie? The library kisses, the cliffside confessions, the way he'd whispered my name like a prayer in the dark? I hurled a rock over the edge, watching it vanish into the foam. A futile echo of my resolve. Footsteps crunched behind me. Too heavy for a hiker, too purposeful. Noah. Hunter's voice, wind-torn and raw. I didn't turn. Go away. You've got your arm candy waiting. He stopped beside me, close but not touching, his silhouette etched against the dying light. It's bullshit. A show for Dad. I told her straight up. I'm not interested. Silence stretched, broken only by gulls' cries. Look at me. Please. Reluctantly, I did. His face was a map of exhaustion, dark circles under those blue eyes, jaw shadowed with stubble. The split lip healed but the hurt fresh. Then why the photos? Why parade it? Because he's watching. Everywhere. Hunter raked a hand through his hair, blonde strands wild. Hired a PI for fuck's sake. To protect the family image. If I don't play along, he pulls funding for my surf scholarship, ships me to that boarding school in the East. Away from everything. The vulnerability cracked me open, anger fracturing into empathy. And me? Where do I fit in this circus? He stepped closer, hand hovering near mine. Front row. Center. The only real thing. His fingers brushed mine, tentative, and I didn't pull away. We stood there, hands linking, the wind a wild third between us. I love you, Noah. Terrifying as that is. The words landed soft, seismic. Love. In Ridge Valley it was a word hoarded like heirlooms, rarely spoken without strings. I searched his eyes, finding only truth, mirrored in my own swelling heart. I love you too, I whispered, the admission a leap, and pulled him into a kiss that tasted of salt and second chances. We drove to his spot then, a hidden cove below the bluffs, accessible only by a treacherous path. His truck bumped down, headlights cutting the dusk, and we parked overlooking the tide pools, stars pricking the velvet sky. Blanket spread, we lay tangled, his head on my chest, heartbeat a lullaby. He traced patterns on my skin, stories spilling. Childhood summer surfing these waves, the freedom before the cane weight settled. I shared my fears of rejection beyond family, of a world that might never fully welcome us. Saturday blurred into stolen hours. Coffee at the bookstore, Dad's knowing wink as he rang us up. A walk through the eucalyptus grove, hands swinging, laughter echoing. But Sunday shattered it. Brody called Hunter during brunch at my house. Mom's pancakes steaming, easy chatter flowing. Hunter's face drained as he listened, then bolted, muttering excuses. He didn't text after. Hours ticked to evening, worry gnawing. I biked to the mansion, gates ajar, music thumping from within. A party, uninvited, Brody's doing. Slipping past security, distracted by the chaos, I found Hunter in the study, door ajar, voices raised. Disgrace, his father's baritone boomed, Mr. Kane's face ruddy with scotch and rage looming over Hunter. Parading around with that Ellis boy? The whole town's talking. Lila's father pulled out of the deal millions, Hunter. Because of your little phase. It's not a phase, Dad. Hunter's voice cracked, standing tall but trembling. I love him. And I'm not hiding anymore. The slap echoed, sharp as a gunshot, Mr. Kane's palm connecting with Hunter's cheek, the sound reverberating in my chest. I burst in then, door slamming against the wall. Stop! My shout cut the air, heart thundering. Both turned, shock rippling. Mr. Kane's eyes narrowed, appraising. You, the instigator. Get out before I call the cops for trespassing. Hunter touched his reddening cheek, gaze locking on mine, gratitude, fear, love. Noah, go. I'll handle. No. I stepped forward, voice steady despite the quake in my knees. This ends now. You don't own him, Mr. Kane. He's not your puppet. The room crackled, tension thick as fog. Mr. Kane laughed, bitter. Boy, you have no idea the world you're in. Hunter's future, our future, depends on choices like this. Then let him choose. I glanced at Hunter, willing strength. For himself. Mr. Kane's face twisted, but something shifted. Perhaps the echo of his own youth, lost to ambition. He exhaled, deflating. Get out. Both of you. We're done here. He stormed past, slamming the door, leaving us in stunned silence. Hunter sagged against the desk, then into my arms, sobs muffled in my shoulder. I'm sorry. God, Noah. I held him, rocking gently. You stood up. That's everything. We left then, driving aimless through the night, ending at the cove. Under stars we made love again, slower, healing bodies and hearts, mending fractures. We'll figure it out, he murmured, fingers in my hair. Together. Monday's halls buzzed with the fallout. Hunter's absence noted, rumors of a family blowout swirling. He showed mid-morning, bruise concealed by collar but resolve shining. At lunch he took my hand publicly across the quad table, stares be damned. This is Noah, he announced to his wide-eyed crew. My boyfriend. Gasps rippled, but Brody slunk away, defeated. Lila nodded from afar. A small smile of understanding. That afternoon in the library, our haven, Hunter dropped to one knee, not with a ring, but a conch shell from the cove, etched with our initials. Not forever yet, he said, eyes gleaming. But a start. Marry the idea of us someday. Tears pricked. Yes. Laughter, kisses, the future unfolding like a well-worn book. But shadows lingered. Mr. Kane's silence wasn't peace. It was a gathering storm. Whispers from the mansion hinted at ultimatums, legal maneuvers to control the air. And Brody, nursing grudges, plotted in the dark. Tuesday, a note in my locker. You think it's over? Watch the cliffs tonight. Unsigned, but the threat clear. I showed Hunter, his face hardening. We face it together. As dusk fell, we drove to the bluffs, the same overlook where promises were made. Fog rolled in thick, visibility nil, the edge a void. Figures emerged, Brody and two shadows, bats in hand, faces twisted in malice. End of the line, Kane, Brody snarled, stepping forward. Can't have you ruining everything. Hunter shoved me behind him. Walk away, Brody. This isn't you. But Brody swung, bat whistling, connecting with Hunter's arm, a sickening crack. Hunter grunted, staggering, and chaos erupted. I lunged, tackling one shadow, fists flying in blind fury. The other grabbed me, slamming me down, gravel-biting skin. Hunter roared, tackling Brody. The two rolling toward the edge, grunts and curses lost in the wind. Stop! I yelled, scrambling up, blood trickling from a split brow. The fog swirled, disorienting the drop mere feet away. Brody gained upper hand, pinning Hunter, fist raised. "For the family," he hissed. In that heartbeat, choice crystallized. I charged, shoulder slamming Brody off, momentum carrying us all teetering. Hunter grabbed my shirt, yanking back. "Noah!" We tumbled safe, inches from abyss, Brody sprawling, winded. Sirens wailed distant, someone had called. His shadows fled, leaving him. "It's over," Hunter gasped, clutching his arm, pain etching lines. Brody laughed, manic. "You think so? Uncle's pulling strings. You'll lose everything." Cops arrived, cuffing him, the night fracturing into statements and lights. Hospital for Hunter. Fractured ulna, bruises. I sat vigil, Mom and Dad arriving with coffee and hugs, their acceptance a anchor. Mr. Kane appeared at dawn, suit rumpled, eyes hollow. "I was wrong," he said to Hunter's bed. "About a lot. Fix this with him." A nod to me, grudging but real. Change tentative. Weeks blurred. Casts and court dates, Brody shipped off, family therapy for Kane's. Hunter and I deepened, poetry readings at the bookstore, surf lessons where I wiped out spectacularly, laughter healing. One evening, cliffs clear, fog banished, we stood at the overlook. "We made it," he said, arm around me, shell necklace glinting. "Not made it. Starting." I kissed him, ocean applauding below. Ridge Valley transformed slowly. Rainbow flags at the center, my sketches in the library. Love we'd learned wasn't absence of storm but dancing in it, hand in hand. The cast came off in late spring, Hunter's arm a roadmap of fading yellows and greens, a badge he wore with quiet pride. Ridge Valley bloomed around us, wildflowers carpeting the bluffs, the air humming with possibility, the fog retreating to mere veils at dawn. We'd survived the winter's rage, but survival wasn't living. It was this mornings tangled in his sheets at the now quiet mansion, afternoons sketching him mid-laugh on the beach, evenings where words wove tighter than any vow. Yet undercurrents pulled. Mr. Kane's fix manifested in awkward overtures, invitations to family dinners where silverware clinked like judgments, his attempts at conversation stilted but sincere. "Noah," he'd say over roast, eyes avoiding mine, "tell me about that art of yours." I'd share, haltingly, and he'd nod, a crack in the armor widening. Hunter watched, torn between resentment and hope, whispering later, "He's trying." For me. Brody's trial loomed, a shadow over summer. Charges of assault, conspiracy. His friends turned state's evidence, painting a picture of resentment festered into violence. Hunter testified, voice steady in the sterile courtroom. The judge's gavel a punctuation to their fractured brotherhood. "He was family," Hunter said afterward, driving us home, knuckles white on the wheel. "But family doesn't destroy." I squeezed his thigh. "You did right. Freed yourself." Summer unfurled lazy. Road trip south to Big Sur. Tent pitched on redwood-scented cliffs, stars a canopy overhead. We hiked Pfeiffer Beach. Purple sand gritty underfoot, waves carving keys into stone. One night, fire crackling, he pulled out a ring, simple silver, wave-etched. "Not legal yet," he said, kneeling in the sand. "But promise? When we're ready." Tears blurred the firelight. "Promise." We made love under the moon, bodies sinking like tides, hearts a steady swell. Back in Ridge Valley, cracks showed elsewhere. Lila cornered me at the bookstore, her debutante poise cracking. "He was never mine," she confessed over lattes. "But you make him shine." Her blessing unexpected, eased a knot I hadn't named. Dad hired Hunter part-time, shelves his domain, customers charmed by his grin. Mom baked him cookies, slipping in Vonnegut. "Read this," she'd say. "It's about seeing the world true." Acceptance woven, seamless. Fall brought senior year, halls alive with change. We walked hand in hand, no longer whispers but waves, some approving, others wary, but the tide turned. Poetry slam. I read a piece about cliffs and corners, Hunter in the front row, eyes proud. Applause thundered, and backstage, his kiss tasted victory. But betrayal's echo lingered. October, a letter arrived. Anonymous, postmarked from Seattle. Inside, photos. Hunter and Brody younger. Tangled in a beach bonfire's glow, lips close, intimate. A note, he used you too. Like he used me. Run while you can. V. My world tilted. I confronted him at the cove, photos trembling in my fist. Explain. His face ashen. Noah. It was one night. Drunk, confused. Before I knew what I wanted. Before you. Hurt lands deep. So I'm the upgrade? The real thing after experimenting. No. He dropped to knees in sand, grabbing my hands. It was nothing. A mistake. You're everything. The first real love. Doubt warred with memory, the library corner, the bluff stand, the ring's weight in my pocket. Prove it, I whispered, voice breaking. He did, over weeks. Therapy sessions together, letters burned in the fire pit, vows renewed under stars. No more secrets, he swore. Forgiveness came slow, a tide-ebbing resentment, leaving polished stones of trust. Thanksgiving. Kane's and Elisa's merged, tables groaning with turkey and stories. Mr. Kane raised a glass. To family, blood and chosen. Eyes met across the room, Hunter's warm, and I knew we'd forged something unbreakable. Winter solstice, cliffs dusted frost, we exchanged gifts. I a leather journal for his poems, he a canvas of us on the bluff, captured eternal. New Year's midnight kiss on the mansion terrace, fireworks blooming over the bay. Spring senior prom. Hunter in tux, me in slim suit, corsages pinned with care. We danced under chandeliers, his hand at my waist, whispers of futures. UCLA for art, him surfing competitively, visits bridging miles. Graduation dawn, golden. Caps tossed, diplomas clutched, families cheering. Hunter's speech. Valedictorian, voice carrying. Ridge Valley taught me cliffs aren't just edges, they're launches. To stand up, to love fierce, to claim your truth. Eyes found mine, applause swelling. After, party at the cove, friends, bonfire, waves, serenade. Alone later, blanket wrapped, he murmured, marry me? For real soon. Yes. Laughter, tears, the ocean's hush. Summer postgrad. Internships, him with coastal conservation, me at the gallery in town. One evening, storm brewing, we hiked the bluffs. Lightning forked, thunder growled, but we stood firm, hands clasped. You know, I said, rain starting, that night in the library. It saved me. He pulled me close. It saved us. The storm broke, but we didn't. Love in Ridge Valley wasn't perfection, it was persistence, compassion in the cracks, freedom in the fall. Years later, vows exchanged on those cliffs. Guests from both worlds, the sea witness. Hunter's hand in mine, ring glinting. To more corners, he toasted. To standing up, I replied. And in the fog's embrace we walked forward, hearts open, forever cornered only by each other.